So hello everyone, we will start in approximately 5 minutes so people can still join in. Hello everyone, I hope you can hear me and I want to welcome you to the webinar WASHaLOT 3.0, a prefabricated group washing facility for hygiene formation. This webinar is jointly organized by the Regional Fit for School program and the GIZ sector program Sustainable Sanitation. I'm the facilitator of today's webinar. My name is Jan Schleng and I work as an advisor in the sector program here in Bonn. We are very happy to welcome our two colleagues today. Firstly, Frederick Madrid, a project officer who works for both our programs actually in the station in the Philippines and has done a tremendous job in improving the WASHaLOT over the last months. And secondly, Marcel-Siewert-Freundel, WASH advisor in the Regional Fit for School program, heading the FIT activities in Cambodia. He has been involved with the WASHaLOT from the beginning, and he will give us an overview of the evolution of the hand washing facility over the last years. So we will start with an approximately 30 minutes presentation by Frederick and Marcel, and afterwards we will have the second half of the webinar for questions and comments and so on. Let me give you a few technical issues before I hand over to the presenters. First of all, we are recording this webinar and will upload it to the Susanna forum afterwards, where also the post-webinar discussion will take place in the forum. You will, shortly after finishing the webinar, you will receive an email with a link to the presentations and the forum so you can join and download the recordings. Marcel, can you switch the slide, please? So as you can see on this slide, this is the Fit for School infographic, and the WASHaLOT is not a standalone solution. So you see, it's actually situated in the infrastructure and materials section below. So it's a small part actually of the Fit for School approach. I will now hand over to Marcel and Frederick. And please, because I listen to some noises, so please keep your microphones muted during the presentation. Marcel, the floor is yours. I think you have to again click Start Presenting. There is no change.
Hi, sorry, my internet connection was gone. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Perfect. Let me wait until the slides are loaded. Okay.
Perfect. So here you see the slide and the infrastructure and materials section, and the group hand washing facility is situated below. And now, please, Marcel, the floor is yours. Let's hope the internet connection stays stable.
Yes, let's hope for that. Thanks, Jan, for the hearty introduction. So, hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Marcel. I'm here right now in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. I'm the regional WASH advisor for the Fit for School program. And together with Fred, we are excited to give you insights today into our learning journey about the prefabricated group washing facility, which is called WASHaLOT. This journey already lasts now 5 years, and we are happy to give you some insights. So what have we prepared for you today? I will give you a brief introduction about the background of the WASHaLOT, where it's coming from, why do we actually started to think about a prefabricated solution. And then Frederick in the Philippines will take over to explain to you the evolution of the WASHaLOT product, the new WASHaLOT 3.0, and an assessment he conducted in schools in the Philippines. After that, of course, we are happy to take your questions, and we hope to provide some satisfying answers. So first, let's have a look at the global level. Where are we right now? As you know, the Sustainable Development Goal number 4 is on education. It's ensuring inclusive and qualitative education for all. More precise is target number 4A, which is on education facilities and the learning environment, which of course also includes WASH facilities in schools. What you can see here on the slide is based on the JMP service letter, which was developed by the SDG Target Task Force, where GIZ also contributed. So as you can see, we have our 3 categories: drinking water, sanitation, and hygiene. And in the red box, you can see the targets. So this is what we are all aiming for by 2030, to achieve the basic service for drinking water, sanitation, and hygiene. The SDGs, as in many other areas, created a much needed momentum for hygiene activities in schools. So, to face the challenge, by 2030, all schools would need to have hand washing facilities with water and soap. It's important to highlight that it needs to be both. Just having water available is not enough to reach the basic level, to reach the goal. So there is an increased need for facilities which can accommodate hygiene activities for many children at the same time, to have an effective and efficient implementation of hygiene activities. Timing is an important issue. As you all know, hand washing makes most sense prior to eating. And as you also know, often in school, children do eat together. So when you want to have all hands clean before hand washing, you would need a facility where a lot of students can wash their hands at the same time. Let me also give some comments on the creation of habits. The school day is based on common activities in groups, right? The students learn together, they play together. So it also makes sense to implement the hygiene activities together in group activities supervised by the teachers in order to allow these positive habits to develop. Furthermore, there is also an emerging need for new standards for these facilities, because standards always help us to scale up, be it products or be it activity. The access to these facilities is key to bridge the gap from teaching hygiene education to actually implement it. As you know, when you play soccer, when you play football, what is needed is the facilities. It's the pitch, it's the field, and it's the ball to play with. Otherwise, teaching football is absolutely no fun. Similar is with hand washing facilities. When you teach kids how to wash their hands in 5, 6, or 10 steps, but they do not have the facilities to use it, that's not effective nor efficient. So let's take a look where these group washing facilities are coming from. In 2005, SARS and H1N1 hit Asia. A couple of years later, due to the demand from public health experts, the Department of Education in the Philippines released an order mandating all schools to build and provide hand washing facilities and to practice daily hand washing in the school. So schools started to build their own group hand washing facilities, and therefore we have a lot of very, very interesting and very, very nice examples in the Philippines of different examples. On the right side, you see some pictures. So a very, very good solution, a very low cost and very localized solution is this group tip-top facility, which you can see in the white socks, in this white bag. Even the soap is provided. Then on the second picture, you see a more sophisticated facility, which is assumably quite expensive. There are tiles, there are cement, and we have faucets. And on the last picture, you see this blue pipe attached to the wall. And in the blue pipe, there are very small boreholes, which you cannot see on the pictures here. So the water is dripping out, allowing a lot of students to wash their hands at the same time. So GSZ started to assess what kind of challenges are there for the schools. And on this slide, I will give you some comments about software and management issues. And on the next slide, we go into more detail on the hardware issues. So often for schools, not only for washing schools, but especially for washing schools, the sources of funding are not clear. Often there are no government budget lines for washing schools or even for the construction, or especially for the construction of much needed wash facilities. So that leaves the school management with a fundraising issue on their own. Furthermore, we assess the limited concept of low-cost solutions. Was the tendency of building too much, of spending too much money with little efficiency, as we saw in the picture before with this big tile facility. And in addition, often especially in remote areas, skilled labor are rare, so we often have facilities which were expensive, funded with money often from the community, but were not efficient because they break down very easily. So in summary, we can say it's hard to find the money for the school, and then it was not spent very wisely. So from the software management challenges, let's take a closer look now on the hardware issues. So there are common problems, what we encountered for the self-made, school-made group hand washing facilities. One thing with the taps is they get broken very easily, especially when it's the cheap plastic ones, or they disappear from the school ground. Another thing is with the faucets, a very, very high water consumption, and that in combination with insufficient water supply in the schools, of course, does not support the daily functionality of the facility. The low quality of construction is due to lack of knowledge how to construct it, due to low quality materials, and often, as said before, low quality skilled labor. So all in one, we have to say that there is a relatively short service life of the facilities, and that means when the facility is not functional, kids cannot practice daily hand washing and daily hygiene activities like toothbrushing. So we started to think about how can we address this issue? How can we deal with that? Can we give guidelines to schools how to build better facilities? Yes, that was definitely one thing what we encountered and what we've done. Another way of encountering is to come up with demands for a standardized group washing facility. And here you can see some aspects and the most important aspect. So first of all, it needs to assure the functionality. When we build a facility and deliver it to the schools, and the schools set it up and operate it, it needs to be functional during the whole year. When the facility breaks down and the community does not know how to repair it, it will not get used. It needs to be independent from pipe water supply. We know that a lot of schools, especially in the capital and in metro areas, they have access to pipe water, but we also know that often the water supply is not sufficient due to pressure problems or simply because the bills are not getting paid. It needs also to be low cost in order to be scalable. A very expensive solution will not be affordable for a lot of schools, of course, and for a lot of governments, and for a lot of development partners and NGOs. So the construction and the setup needs to be low cost, as well as the operation and maintenance, an often neglected issue when it comes to washing infrastructure. It needs to minimize water consumption. So, as I said before, the tap solution of opening a tap and a lot of liters run out of the facility with little effect of hand washing was not our choice, as you can imagine. It needs to involve the community. That's a most crucial aspect. What we saw in all countries so far, when the community is involved in the setup, in the beautification, in the enhancement of the facility, it increases the chances of getting repaired and maintained, probably because it raises kind of awareness, and it also raises the ownership of the people. And the last point is it needs to be prefabricated. I will leave some notes on that on the next slide. So all of this demand leads to the way that we started to look into the construction of prefabricated hand washing facilities, which we then eventually called WASHaLOT. So the question is, why prefabricated? It's relatively simple. We prefabricate things in order to prevent the reinvention of the wheel from schools. Schools are busy places, and their most important role is to teach kids, and their role should not be to think about technical solutions for hand washing facilities. They can have their fair share in enhancing it, but in order to have a scalable solution, it's important that they are not overwhelmed with their task, and also that they are not repeating the mistakes, the misconceptions from what other schools encountered before. So prefabricated facilities ensures quality and ensures efficiency. We can procure in bulk, which is way cheaper than procuring each piece. We can set up proper quality management in the production site, ensuring that the facility delivers what it promised. We can offer the product to other partners and not just the parts. So it's often more easy for NGOs, development partners, and also ministry partners to buy a product and not to buy each single piece of this product. So all of that leads to a convenient product which can be produced centralized. So in Cambodia and Phnom Penh, we have one producer so far, which is producing for the whole country, and it gets produced in a double win approach, because it's a vocational school supporting students from poor families. So we are, through buying the product, also this tool is getting promoted and supported. That was it from my side. I will hand over now to Frederick in the Philippines. He will give us some insight about the WASHaLOT evolution, how it was in the beginning and how it looks now.
Hi, thank you for that very informative background, Marcel. Hello, I'm Frederick. Yeah. As mentioned by Marcel, the journey of the WASHaLOT started on the year 2013, and since then there have been 3 major models of the WASHaLOT, which will I discuss in the next slides. The first was a punch GI pipe with an external water reservoir connected by a garden hose, as you can see in the photo. It has 10 punch holes that serves as a water outlets that could accommodate up to 20 students at a time. Before this technology was called even the WASHaLOT, it was called then as the core module, as you can see in the header. The name was changed because the term core module, quote unquote, was confusing and often relates to books or modules for seminars. And also that we wanted a catchy brand for this technology, and that's how the term WASHaLOT came out. The second model was in 2014, same with the first WASHaLOT, but now as an integrated water tank and improved connection between the water tank and the pipe itself. In the right photo, you can see that it has 2 valves for controlling water flow. First valve, the one in the leftmost, that is used for individual hand washing, and second valve for group hand washing activity. If you open both 2 valves, it has a total of 11 water outlets that could accommodate up to 22 students at a time. This model was used in Cambodia, as mentioned by Marcel, that they already have the production site in Cambodia, and also in the Philippines, where around 3,000 plus units of this model were produced and installed in the schools. Sorry. Currently, we are now, next slide. Okay. Currently, we are now at the 3rd model, the WASHaLOT, or the WASHaLOT 3.0. It is made of a high-density polyethylene pipe with 10 individual stainless steel water outlets. The 110 millimeter or 4-inch pipe act as the water reservoir itself, thus eliminating connection to avoid leakage. All water outlets are autonomous to each other, which means it can accommodate more than 1 individual hand washing activity. I will elaborate more on the features of these current WASHaLOT in the next slides. Okay. Now, behind the improvement of, or behind the evolution, why there's the need to evolve for the WASHaLOT. Reflecting from the experiences of previous models of the WASHaLOT, Sector Program for Sustainable Sanitation, together with Fit for School, saw the need to develop the current model of the WASHaLOT based on the experiences gathered from the previous models. Then Sector Program contracted the University of Potsdam and a product designer to develop this 3rd model of the WASHaLOT. The design was then further refined through various prototyping and workshops in Germany and in the Philippines. And that's how we came up with the current model of the WASHaLOT 3.0. Now, since we already talked about the evolution, we will talk now what were the improvements behind those evolution. First aspect I'd like to highlight is the improvement in the individual operation of the WASHaLOT. It has come a long way since then. Starting from the leftmost, we have the first WASHaLOT with 1 main valve that will open for 10 water outlets, thus allowing group washing activity. In the middle, we have WASHaLOT 2.0 with 2 valves, as I have discussed earlier. First valve for individual hand washing, and then opening the second valve would open an additional 10 more. In WASHaLOT 3.0, however, all water outlets are autonomous, which means it can accommodate more than 1 individual hand washing at the same time, it could also be used as a group facility when all water outlets are in use. In operating this water outlet, you just need to push the lever to the side for water to flow, and then you remove your hand, then the water ceases to flow. I'll show you a short clip on this. I don't know if it will work. Hope it will work. Can you see the video? As you can see in the video, you just need to push the lever to the side so for water to close. For water to flow rather, and then you remove your hand, then the water ceases to flow. Think of it as those faucets in posh malls, like for example that uses infrared sensors. Like if you're going to put your hands, then automatically the water will flow. Then this is the low-cost version, the mechanical wave version of that sensor thingy. Okay. Another aspect that I'd like to discuss is that the improvement in its water reservoir. In the first WASHaLOT, it has an external water reservoir connected by a hose. In WASHaLOT 2.0, the water gets integrated to the facility with a more permanent connection to the pipe. For WASHaLOT 3.0, we made the pipe as the water reservoir itself, eliminating connections, thus reducing leakage or minimizing the amount of parts on it. Now, what were the reasons changing the reservoir? First and foremost, connection between pipe and water reservoir are prone to leakage. That's what you can see in the first two models. It has a connection, and based on experience, these connections are prone to leakage, and these are the first part which are like easy to be damaged. Another reason for changing or improving is that the water reservoir used in the first and second WASHaLOT has a limited shelf life, because most water reservoir or water canister are available only in polyvinyl chloride plastics, which usually does not do well under the continuous exposure to the sunlight. Third is that security aspect. The water canister or the water reservoir itself got stolen in the first and second WASHaLOT, where in the third WASHaLOT, well, there's nothing to steal unless you will the whole facility gets stolen. Third, improvement on cleaning and maintenance. For the first and second WASHaLOT, when cleaning, you need to tilt the, as you can see in the photo, in the leftmost photo, you need to tilt the water reservoir so that you can clean it. And beside it is a photo of the end plug of the GI pipe, where you need to open so that you can have an entrance to for cleaning the pipe of the WASHaLOT 1 and 2. Well, in WASHaLOT 3.0, it has two wide water inlet with hinge cover, easy open hinge cover, that serves as service entrance for cleaning purposes. Reasons for the change. Well, for the first and second WASHaLOT, you would need specific tool. For example, the wrench that I just mentioned to open the plug when cleaning the inner part of the pipe, which sometimes are not available in schools located in remote areas. Second is that the high elevation of water reservoir, as you can see in the photo, the height of the water reservoir sometimes causes inconvenience to the user, especially during refilling and cleaning. Especially, actually, in the operational side, this height or the elevation of the water reservoir is also an issue, since it requires taller children, or at least the teacher that need to be the one to refill the WASHaLOT. Other than the WASHaLOT 2.0, we could delegate the task to someone that is of height, like for example, grade elementary students. Third is the third reason why we change is that tilting of the water reservoir when cleaning is compromising the connection to the water pipe, which usually results to leaking. Final aspect that I'd like to highlight in this improvement is that improvement on material, higher quality material. We use higher quality material. For the first and second WASHaLOT, we use galvanized iron pipes and fittings, and plastic water container for the reservoir. For WASHaLOT 3.0, we used high density polyethylene plastic for the pipe and stainless steel for water outlets. For those who are not accustomed to or not familiar to what is a high density polyethylene pipe is, this material is commonly used for water distribution systems, like in cities, municipalities, and towns. And also it is also being used for drainage purposes. Now, what is the reasons behind that why we change it or why we improve it? First is that what's obvious is that it increases durability and life service of the WASHaLOT. Second is that lesser parts means simple construction and less prone to leakage. As you can see in the photos provided in the slide, the first and second WASHaLOT has more parts as compared to the third WASHaLOT 3.0, which is basically just a pipe. Now, with this less parts, less components, it also equates to simpler installation when it comes into schools. Sorry. In this topic, we will dive more a bit into the experience so far with the WASHaLOT 3.0. But before going to that, I will talk first on the features, which I basically already highlighted in the previous slides. As a summary, the WASHaLOT 3.0 allows autonomous operation of each outlet, allows more than one individual hand washing or group hand washing of up to 20 students. Second is that outlets automatically closes when not in use, thus saving water, aka low-cost censored water faucets, basically. Third is that making use of the pipe as a water reservoir with a capacity of 24 liters. So there's no need for a water reservoir anymore. Lastly, as a pipe water connection readily available with an option of manual refilling at the wide water inlets at the end of the pipe. So basically, in this last point of the last feature of the WASHaLOT, if the school already has a pipe water supply or pipe water connection, they can directly connect the WASHaLOT to it. Or if the school is located remotely, they would opt to use just the refill the WASHaLOT manually. Or the last, it could be combined for those areas where waters are only available at night, or so and so, or intermittent availability of water is a problem. Now, experience so far with the WASHaLOT, the first pilot implementation of the WASHaLOT 3.0 here in the Philippines. 50 units of WASHaLOT 3.0 were piloted into 10 schools in Batangas province as a part of a research project with London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Schools only received the WASHaLOT without its legs, leaving space for community involvement, as mentioned by Marcel in the earlier slides, that the WASHaLOT also allows or leaves space for community to be involved in this, also promoting ownership on the site. Vinyl stickers, which is commonly used for outdoor graphics, were also given to schools, as you can see in the bottom photo. That's a sample from one of the schools on how they design or beautify the WASHaLOT itself. Now, if you may ask why we use vinyl stickers to beautify the WASHaLOT, we use vinyl stickers because the material, the characteristic of polyethylene pipe is that paints normally doesn't stick to it. If it sticks, it doesn't last long, usually a year or 1 year and a half. And then after that, then the beautification is already not good, or you might not call it beautiful anymore. So we opted to use the vinyl stickers so that it would last long, and if the schools would like to change the design, they could still remove the sticker, then add another sticker onto it. Here are some examples of WASHaLOT installations of the pilot schools, 10 pilot schools rather. In the photo, we have WASHaLOTs in a mobile legs. Schools could easily transfer the WASHaLOT into the washing area or easily move it into a room for safe pitching during off classes. In the examples you can see on the left, it's a WASHaLOT with an aluminum legs and a basin. And in the right, this is a very lightweight design of a mobile legs. Reason for this is that they just, during weekends or classes, they will just put it in front of their class, then conduct the hand washing, and prior to the weekend, they can store the WASHaLOT with the legs inside their classroom for safekeeping. Second kind of leg that was produced by the schools is that they fix the legs to the ground, but this kind of legs the kind of legs also allows for the WASHaLOT to be detached. As you can see in the left photo, the WASHaLOT is some sort of like a hand already, or a half seat to hold the WASHaLOT in place. And in the right photo, you can see some kind of a locking mechanism to lock the WASHaLOT into the legs. And third sample that we got from the schools that we had is that they made use of walls and columns on the side of their buildings to be used as a mounting for the WASHaLOT, and then just added basin so that it will not get messy below. Going to the cost. The current price of the WASHaLOT is around $100 US. That covers $75 US from the materials and $25 US for the labor cost. This cost is only based on the Philippines and might be different in other countries. So don't get too frustrated if your costing is already beyond $100, because this $100 is just based in the Philippines. So we don't have the same prices of materials that we use already. If a standard legs would be added to the WASHaLOT, an estimated additional $50 US is needed. The $50 US is a rough estimation or basic average estimation of the construction cost incurred by the schools when they constructed their WASHaLOTs in the schools. So it's just a conservative value to assume that the amount of the standardized legs required for the WASHaLOT. Now, technology applicability framework. Some of you might not have heard of it, but I will try my best to describe the technology applicative framework in a nutshell, as simple as possible. The technology applicative framework, or TAF, is an established method or tool to assess scale-up potential of a certain technology. This is developed by SCAP Foundation within the WASHTech project, which is a 3-year action research project in Africa. In the first quarter of 2018, the first WASHaLOT 3.0s that were installed in 10 public schools in Batangas were assessed following the technology applicability framework. The assessment was done to gather feedback from pilot users of the WASHaLOT 3.0 while also looking at its applicability in the province and its potential for a national scale-up. The assessment only covers the pipe of the WASHaLOT and does not include the legs, since several types of legs were used by different schools. In this slide, I will show you the TOF in a nutshell. The TOF assesses the technology based on 6 sustainability dimensions, as you can see in the left part of the table, in 3 different key perspectives: user, producer, and the facilitator, the one in the top. Along these 6 sustainability criteria, indicators are set at each perspective to further narrow areas to be assessed. There are a total of 18 indicators you can see in the table. The first is a need for the WASHaLOT, 2 need for the WASHaLOT production, and so on and so on. As a result, the indicators were scored by stakeholders of the different perspective, namely the user, producer, and the facilitator. They scored it through a workshop using the traffic light system. Green represents positive or high value of that certain indicator. Yellow represents potential, or that it needs follow-up. And then, on the other hand, red represents low value. As you can see in the graphical representation, most of the indicators are valued positively by the stakeholders, and only holds a bit in the economic dimension from the user's perspective. Key learnings from the assessment. Well, relating to that low yellow score in the previous slide, this is in the user, in economic criteria. One of the key learnings from the assessment is that there is a need for clarification of funding source on school level. Marcel also discussed it in the background. Sourcing funding for construction is also a problem in the school level. Schools that are part of the assessment has a school fund, or in the Philippines we call it MOOE. But this school fund is only intended for operation plus maintenance expenses of the school. They cannot use this fund to procure or build new facilities. However, schools could source funding for procurement through solicitation or other funding source, such as funds from the Parents-Teacher Association, funds from the local government unit, and among others. But these sources of fundings are sometimes not available, or there are other projects in the pipeline other than constructing wash facilities. It really depends on what is the thrust, or what is the vision or goal of the local barangay unit or the Parents-Teacher Association. Second key learning is the need for information materials such as manuals and videos to support the management of the school in installing, operating, and maintaining the WASHaLOT. So that is still need to be produced, and they are currently working on that. And lastly, a WASHaLOT package that already includes standardized legs. Having standardized legs would ensure a certain degree of quality of the WASHaLOTs being installed in the schools. Having a WASHaLOT that is ready to install would also minimize the burden of the school to look for budget to procure materials in installing the WASHaLOT, which oftentimes are not available. Then, what's next for WASHaLOT 3.0 after we already got those experiences from the schools? Well, first is that localized production and use of WASHaLOT 3.0 in other parts of the globe. Currently, the Sanitation for Million program in Uganda funded the production of one WASHaLOT 3.0 and installed it in a school in Kampala, Uganda. You can see the photo in the, only one photo there. The first WASHaLOT 3.0 produced in Uganda and installed in schools in Kampala. Sorry. The WASHaLOT 3.0 is having good feedback from the school where it is installed, and the project is keen on producing more units to be installed in other schools. And another next for the WASHaLOT is that the WASHaLOT application in emergency context. Due to the individual operation of its water outlets, the WASHaLOT 3.0 is suitable for applications in refugee camps and evacuation camps where group activities are not practiced, but hand hygiene is of importance. Another target for the WASHaLOT 3.0 is to support the scale up of WASHaLOT 3.0 in a broader area, targeting also the first two bullets on this slide, is that management support tools such as production guide, operational manual, and instructional videos are needed to be developed. This also includes development of different packaging of the WASHaLOT for different contexts, such as in emergency context, public areas, or recreational activities, and in school, other than the school context. Here we can see our partners involved in developing the WASHaLOT 3.0 sector program for sustainable sanitation from BMZ-GIZ, Sustainable Sanitation Alliance, who was also involved, University of Potsdam, and to individuals that was involved, Thiel Hargenhan and Nicole Stauf. I think they are also invited here. And the producer of the WASHaLOT 3.0, Lupang Arenda and Multi-Purpose Cooperative. These are the circles who made the WASHaLOT 3.0 dream come true. And you may also check the following links for reference and additional resources, Fit for School resources. You can just click the link after we shared this presentation to you, and videos are also available. And that concludes the presentation. I now turn over you to our facilitator, Jan, to facilitate the question and answer portion. Hope we could enlighten you with your questions in mind.
Yeah, thank you very much, both of you, for this insightful presentation. I would now like to open the floor to the audience for questions, and I would suggest that you unmute your microphone and ask directly, as we are a small group, and please don't forget to introduce yourself shortly with name and organization you work with. Are there any questions already or comments? Or maybe it were also a lot of things shared, so maybe there's also there are the first questions of clarification or something, also because of the connection that something is not clear yet.
Jan, actually, I have a question.
Okay, Yunus, go ahead.
Well, yes, my name is Yunus Hassib. I'm an advisor to the sector program, Sustainable Sanitation, based in Eschborn. And I have a question concerning the experience that you made with this WASHaLOT 3.0. Actually referring to the cleanliness, because we are talking here about a volume of water that may differ. You have a substantial surface on the inside, and on this one slide in the presentation of Frederick, I noticed you were using a brush, kind of a brush, to clean it. But I imagine that was, I mean, probably you have to clean it every now and then, because there is a build-up of biofilm on the inside, especially if the WASHaLOT is exposed to sunlight. And you know, we have seen the blue pipes. In the case of Uganda, it's a maybe gray or black pipe. This heats up quickly, so the water is pretty warm, and this additionally supports the development of that biofilm. So obviously there is a need to clean it regularly, also to avoid the biofilm from building up and then possibly clogging the valve, the tap that you are using, because it's just a very small nozzle and you don't want any dirt or parts of that biofilm to enter. So I was wondering whether this brush that we've seen in that one picture, I don't remember the slide number, but it was basically that picture on the right side where the lady was using a brush, obviously, to clean it, to clean the WASHaLOT from the inside. If that is really effective, I mean, normally I would expect this to also show in the TUF that you presented. Obviously, the users would have an issue with keeping this device clean, I imagine. But I assume that this was not reported.
With regards to the experience and the cleaning, going to your point on algae accumulation, this really, on the first 10 schools that we piloted the WASHaLOT, algae accumulation really depends on two factors, exposure to sunlight and the source of water itself. Mm-hmm. We do encounter schools that have pretty bad or that has algae accumulation in the water in their WASHaLOT, and we also just we recommended to use a brush. Now, to use a brush attached to a long flexible rod, then you can just brush it, push and pull it from the water inlet so that you can clean it. Now, going to your question, is the usage of brush effective or not? Now, I think I'm going to break down in, we have not done an experiment or test yet on how that to prove the cleanliness or the effectiveness of the brush itself. But we do see the observation. We can only say what we see during when we conducted our experiments. It seems that with the brush, it really it really removes the algae accumulation and the silt build up within the WASHaLOT. That's what we can assure, but we haven't tested the water or the water after it is being cleaned.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you. I think that's something that probably will show after maybe a longer trial period.
Longer experiences and piloting the WASHaLOT. Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Perhaps to
Frederick.
I also perhaps contribute a few sentences. This is Bella, sitting in Bonn.
Hello, Bella.
Hi, nice to meet you all here. Yeah, I think what we have discussed this a lot with the guys from Potsdam, who are water engineers and who also introduced this entire system to us. And they were saying the brush is fine, so we discussed the brush with them, and they also said it's very important just to really, really flush it regular. So to encourage the schools to have once a week flushing it with water, that would also, from their perspective, help. They were also saying it's very, very important to really close it so that no light comes in. For example, this inlet where you can fill in the water manually. It's important really not to have it, what you see on the pictures here, this is with a white inlet. They were suggesting to change the color and make it black, so to really reduce the amount of UV light entering the system. But I think it's also important to once further check how that works. But we also, I think we have not to forget, this is not, we don't speaking about drinking water, we speak for water for hand washing. And if we look which current systems are available around the globe, this is something which you have most probably in many cases, and important is to really use it for washing and not for drinking. And it is always introduced as a washing facility, not as a drinking facility.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bella and Yunus. Are there any further questions?
I would love to hear something from our Ugandan colleagues, how they, these pictures maybe are a few weeks old. How do they further get forward? Do they have problems in production? Because I think it's so interesting that they, without direct involvement with teams of members of the Philippine team, they're doing the production in Uganda by themselves. And it would be very good to hear their further experiences, just using some notes and some pictures and some information, were they able to do it and what the challenges they encountered. Because that might be interesting for other people on
hello?
Yes, hello.
Hello?
Hello, yes, we can hear you. Just talk. Wonderful.
Yeah, sorry, my internet has been on and off. I've not intermittently. I'm sorry, I have no presentation, but briefly talk about our experiences. We have this in the beginning, we had the
We can hardly hear you. Perhaps you put it in the chat box because you're breaking up a lot. So you might better put it in the chat box and we can then read your comment.
Oh, sorry. Internet. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, hello, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Jan, you take over.
Our
I
internet here is not.
Yeah, and maybe you can share your experience. Yeah, you can write it in the comment box, and we can read it. And maybe, I mean, I like very much the approach, Frederick, which you told me that I mean you were mostly in contact via WhatsApp. So maybe Frederick, you can share a bit your experience with advising the Ugandan colleagues.
Yeah,
quite innovative approaches, and maybe also other programs can learn from it, or we can further adjust our consulting and advisory.
Yeah. Actually, it just the advising part, or the connection between the Ugandan colleagues and between us here in the Philippines was just some kind of an informal way. We started first on compiling necessary information for them to produce one prototype for them. Namely, we had a production note, some kind of a technical document for persons to produce or replicate the WASHaLOT design. Another is that we also shared to them the fact sheet, some photos and experiences that we had in our pilot schools. And what's there? Yeah, I think that's much of it. And we also set up a WhatsApp group chat. Then from there we started chatting and trying to advise them on what's the first step, what's the necessary steps needed to be taken one at a time, and clarifications from their side, and I'll try to answer them. I think it was good working with them, and also trying new ways on how to share experiences or share expertise from them without going direct or personally to the area.
Yeah, and I like very much the idea with this Facebook, with this WhatsApp group, and I think we should also keep this in mind now, producing the videos to maybe really make just a few short clips, which you can also easily share via other communication ways, and which can help also in areas where there is low connectivity in the internet and things. So I think it was a great learning for us. So
yeah. Actually, it just proves that the design of the WASHaLOT is simple enough to be understood by other technical persons, and with just a production note, they can replicate it by themselves. And one level or one layer that we need to be particular on is also how to secure the quality of the produced WASHaLOT. I think that's one that it needs to be addressed in the future, aside from on how to impart quality assurance measures.
Hello, may I ask a question?
yeah, of course.
Hi, I'm Johan from GIT Fit for School, and I'm interested on the results of the TAF. And it seems that, Frederick, you did a survey on the social acceptability of this technology, and we'd like to know if you can provide more details on that, because this is somehow revolutionizes the idea of a washing facility, and people might find it strange or odd to wash your hands using a different kind of tap and seeing a tank in a different way. What is your feedback from the users with regards to the social acceptability of the new technology?
Well, actually, on the acceptance side, if we are going to see how well the students or the school community accepted the WASHaLOT, having the new design of these somehow semi-automatic stainless water outlets, I think we did not find any problem with that. Maybe it's just particular into this area where schools and community already is accustomed to that kind of technology that we just used. Actually, the water outlets, the stainless water outlets that we used for the WASHaLOT 3.0 was intended for animal feeders, like livestock rather, like rabbits, pigs, what's this, goat, or whatsoever that you can name of the livestock. It's a water binker for livestock purposes. So given that the area was some kind of a rural, and they already know they raise also livestock, they are accustomed to the technology, and they didn't find it difficult to use or adapt on how or what the other way uses of the water outlet. It also reflects, we have also interesting experiences from Uganda, from the first WASHaLOT that they had. It seems like we have a very good feedback from the users in Uganda, and yeah.
Yeah, perhaps one point to add, Johan. I think we can, the TAF will soon be ready for distribution, so everybody can read it. I think important is that those people were asked the experiences with using it. So they're already using it. They had it for about 3 months before this stuff was being done. So they had an experience using it. It might be different if you introduce that to people who have not used it before, and they might find it strange. But if you use it and you're accustomed to do it, I think there is no problem. I think it might be another point to bring it to DepEd. And for example, we're happy that some USECs or decision makers in DepEd have already seen the technology, have used it, same as decision makers in the BMZ or in other countries. So it seems people are going to use it, and when you use it, you can see how it works. So I think that's not, I think, the biggest problem. What I would like to add is that I really appreciate this TAF technology or this TAF method, that there is people are requested to give inputs, and you meet them again at the end and show them the results and show them the points of your report and ask them if their view has been reflected there. And I think that's a very, very nice technology. So I just wanted also to bring that in, that I'm very impressed by the methodology of the TAC, and specifically by the feedback round, where the people come together and where they really listen and see if their views have been reflected. That's a very, very nice way of assuring or giving clarity to those who, or adding a layer to any qualitative research. So I really like that.
So as our time is up already, I would encourage you all to join the Susanna Forum afterwards, and that we can continue the discussion, and especially if the colleagues from Uganda can still hear us. So it would be great to if you could share your experience with us, because I think this would be really helpful to further develop it and to get your feedback. What we yeah.
I'll be sharing, I think, in writing due to this difficulty in connectivity.
No, I mean, it's great that you could at least make it, and I hope you could at least follow our discussion and the presentation, and then we will send the link as soon as possible today, so that we continue on the Susanna Forum.
Yes, thank you very much.
And yeah, thank you all for this interesting webinar, and especially thanks to Frederick for preparing this great presentation and all your work you have put into to make this happen, and Marcel as well for presenting today. So just as I said before I close out this webinar, we will upload the presentation and the recording on the Susanna Forum, and will, as well as the fact sheet which was mentioned on the WASHaLOT 3.0. So there will be all the materials available on the Susanna platform, and we will send an email to the email list by today. So yeah, have a good day, and thanks a lot.
Okay.